What is math freaks? I am back from a short hiatus and I am happy to be doing some math, and we're right in the middle of one of my favorite things, trigonometry, and we're dealing with the cosine and sine today. We want to get what the definition of those are. So let's just jump right into it. We should know now, for example, let's see, if I have let's say that's an angle of 60 degrees, or at 60 degrees we should know that that is a radian measure of pi over 6 radian, pi over 3 radians, or pi over 3 rads. Alright, we should know that the coordinates here of that point are what is it, over 1/2 up √3 over 2. Okay, so we want to use this to talk about what the sine and cosine is, so let's just do it. So the cosine alright, you're going to see it like this, as cos of 60 degrees. Okay, and when you see cosine of 60 degrees, that's going to be, you make the 60-degree angle, and you come right here and you look at that point, and the cosine is simply the x-coordinate, 1/2. The sine is always written like this: sine of 60 degrees. So you go to the same point, you look at the point, and you look at the y-coordinate. So the y-coordinate is √3 over 2, and that is defined to be the sine of 60 degrees. Okay? We can also look at the cosine of pi over 3 rads. Cosine of pi over 3, well, you think of that as going a length of pi over 3 around the unit circle, and get to that point, look at the coordinates. The cosine is the x-coordinate, 1/2. The sine of pi over 3 rads is, again, you get to that point at pi over 3 radians, and you see it there, and it is √3 over 2. The y-coordinate is the sine. Okay, let's try another one. Let's look at the sine and cosine, and let's look at let's say 30 degrees. 30 degrees, or what? 30 degrees is pi over 6 radians. Pi over 6 rads. So the cosine, so let's look at our point here. So 30 degrees, or pi over 6 radians. We should know what that point is from earlier sections. That is over, what, √3 over 2 up 1/2. And we see that the cosine of 30 degrees equals the cosine of pi over 6. Those two things are the same things, either expressing our angle as degrees or as radians. And in both cases, we go to this point here, and for the cosine, we look at the x-coordinate, √3 over 2. Okay. For the sine, we have the sine of 30 degrees equals the cosine, doesn't equal the cosine, equals the sine of pi over 6 radians. So again, we go to this point, and for the sine, we look at the y-coordinate. 1/2. Okay. And also note that if we look at, say we look at the sine of pi over 6 plus 2 pi. Well, that 2 pi just takes me a trip all the way around the circle, and then I go to pi over 6 again, so it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be 1/2. In trigonometry, when we're talking about the sine and cosine, all we're really interested in is the coordinates of that point on the unit circle. And so if you add 2 pi, it's going to just take you a trip around the circle, and so that after you take away your 2 pi's, what's left is all that matters. As well, the cosine of pi over 6 plus, I don't know, let's say 8 pi. Note that 8 pi is just going to be 4 trips around the circle, and then you start at the beginning, and then you do your pi over 6, and you're going to land at this same point here, and you're going to get the x coordinate to be √3 over 2. Let's look at another one. Let's say we want to do the cosine and sine of, let's do a negative, let's say 1, 2, 3 pi over 4. So that's going to be -1, -2, -3 pi over 4 right in here. Okay, and we know the power 4 is in power 4 is 45 degrees, so it's going to be 45, 90, 135, or -135 degrees. Okay, and for all these increments of power 4, we should know that it's √2 over 2, √2 over 2. And then you just got to make it make sense. So I'm here, so that's going to be a -√2 over 2 for my x coordinate, and my y coordinate is here, so that's going to be a -√2 over 2. Okay, so now let's find the cosine of -3 pi over 4. Well, we simply go to that point and we look at the x coordinate, and there's going to be a -√2, which is the same as had I written the cosine of a -135 degrees. Okay? The sine of a -3 pi over 4 simply equals, we go to that point and we look at the y coordinate. So it is -√2 over 2, and so that also equals the sine of a -135 degrees. Okay, so keep it simple. The sine and cosine are simply, you go to a point, so you go to some point here, the x coordinate is your cosine, the y coordinate is your sine. It is as simple as that. Okay?